What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to begin our coverage over Fatal Attractions. I have been telling you guys that sooner or later we are going to begin our coverage over Fatal Attractions. But before we actually properly dive into this crossover, there are some things we have to talk about. Now, when it came to Fatal Attractions, it was another X-Men crossover. This time, you had all 5 teams: Uncanny X-Men, X-Men, X-Force, Excalibur, X-Factor. All 5 teams are taking part in this event. You also have a Wolverine book as well that take part in this crossover. But here's the thing about Fatal Attractions. So when it comes to Fatal Attractions, the first chapter is actually X-Factor issue number 92. Now, I went on the internet to kind of see how other people truly felt about this certain issue. And I realized that there are other people out there who are kind of like me, where if you're believing that this chapter right here is part of the crossover, you're going to feel a tad bit wrong here. And the reason why, because as you read issue number 92 for X Factor, you realize that it's not really part of Fatal Attractions like the other chapters are, because X-Force, Excalibur, X-Men, they all kind of fit together to tell this overall story of Magneto coming back, attacking the X-Men, doing a horrible thing to Wolverine. All those chapters kind of seem like they go together in some kind of way. But over for X Factor, it feels more of like Scott Lobdell was trying his best to pick up where Peter David left off at, because Peter David left at issue number 89 for X Factor. But there were some loose ends that weren't tied up before he had left. And so for Scott, it's kind of like, okay, I'm coming in and trying to pick up where Peter left off at. And so with him doing that, it's also him trying to set things up for Fatal Attractions, like the whole idea of the return of the acolytes once again attacking a nearby hospital. And so as we get into the opening pages for this chapter, we actually pick up at a hospital. Not really a hospital, really more of a hospice care center for people who are on the verge of death. And really, you have this nurse telling us what went down when it came to the acolytes attacking that facility. Now, the only reason why they are attacking that facility because it's full of a bunch of humans that they believe should be killed off just like that. And so they barge into that facility, killing off people left and right. It does not even matter. They're in hospice care. They're on the verge of death. They don't care. They have to die. And doing all of this in the name of Magneto. Now, by this point in our coverage over the X-Men, they don't know that Magneto is still alive. Like, he's not officially back yet to the rest of the world. But there were some clues left behind in different books saying like, hey, Magneto is coming back. And when he does, it's going to be a huge problem down the road. And so right now, the acolytes are being led by Fabian Cortez. Now, Fabian Cortez had killed off Magneto to make him a martyr, to get other people more inspired to do Magneto's work, to attack the human race, that mutants should take over the world. And so right now, when it comes to this group of acolytes, they're over here killing off humans left or right in the name of their god, Magneto, because humans do not deserve to live. Mutants should rule the world. And so we see them kill almost every single person in that facility. So now we jump back over to the present day, where you have X Factor hearing this story by the nurse, the only person who has survived the actual incident. Now, here's the thing. You do have this lady telling the story, but it's really more of the book trying to focus on Quicksilver. And the reason why, because by this point in Marvel Comics, he was still the son of Magneto before the whole retcon down the road saying that he was never the son of Magneto. But by this point, he was. And so for Pietro, he hates the idea of hearing these stories about his father. It is not like, oh, hey, my dad was a great man. No, he knows that his father was an evil man. his father is just so messed up. And so for Pietro, he hates the idea that his father had inspired a group of people to go out of their way to attack innocent people like this nurse. And really, while you have X Factor leaving her room, she dies right there. She flatlines on that bed. And so for Quicksilver, it's more of like, great. There's now a group of people out there that my father had inspired to go out of their way to attack humans, to kill off humans because mutants should rule the world. And so for Quicksilver, he hates the idea of just being the son of Magneto. But like I said a moment ago, when it comes to Magneto, for the acolytes, they look at him as their god, as their great savior of the mutant race. But here's the thing. If Magneto is their god, that means Quicksilver is their Jesus. Because you then had this one acolyte who was able to hide in the hospital. And she sees Pietro. And she's all like, oh my God. It is the son of Magneto, like he is their Jesus. And so she freaks out and she goes back to her leader of the acolytes, and that would be Fabian Cortez. Now, like I said a moment ago, Fabian Cortez was the person who had killed off Magneto to make him a martyr so that people would be inspired to go out there to attack the human race. But also, when it comes to Fabian Cortez, he's part of the Upstart organization. Now remember, the Upstart organization was a group of people who would go out of their way to kill other mutants out there to receive points. If you had the most points, then you were the actual leader of the group. If you killed off a more powerful mutant, you would get more points for that kill. And so for Fabian, he had supposedly killed off Magneto and received a lot of points. But recently he found out that, well, maybe, just maybe, Magneto is actually alive. And if he is coming back very soon. But also that means that Fabian had lost a lot of points in the Upstart organization. But either way, he does hear about the idea of Pietro, the son of Magneto. And he wants to use Pietro as a way to kind of continue his control over the acolytes. But getting back over to the Pentagon, we do learn that they were able to capture at least one member of the acolytes, X Factor was. And so their main goal is to interrogate this guy to hopefully get some kind of information out of him. Now, you do have Havoc and Val Cooper kind of go back and forth, and really, I'll explain why here in a moment, but I kind of want to focus more on the whole idea of this interrogation, because you have the team trying their best to get all the info they need to figure out what is the next move of the acolytes, but also possibly where is their base so that they can finally take down this group. But then Pietro walks in, and when he walks in, like I said earlier, they look at him as their Jesus. And so for this one member of the acolyte who's now a prisoner, when he sees Pietro, he bows down to Pietro like, oh my God, you are the Jesus to our organization. I will tell you everything you want to know. Just like that, you didn't have Pietro being able to get all the info he needs about what is possibly the next move of the acolytes. Now, 1 hour later, we actually see that you have Val Cooper try to take Quicksilver over to another military base that's actually going to be attacked by the acolytes, because that one acolyte was able to give Pietro all the info he needs to tell them what is the acolytes' next move. Now, for Havoc, who is the actual leader of X Factor, he wants the entire team to go. But for Val Cooper, she says no. She only wants her and Quicksilver to go. And that's really it. Now, here comes the big problem. You see, for Val Cooper, back in the, I want to say it was issue number 86 or 87, where we saw that while every single member of X Factor were able to get some kind of therapy session, something grabbed Val Cooper. And ever since that moment, she has been acting different, more aggressive. Now, we're also kind of left to believe in the possibility that she was replaced. Either way, she tells Havoc and the rest of X Factor they cannot did not go to this other military base. And she's also hoping that with all the acolytes trying to treat Pietro like he is Jesus, maybe when they arrive at the other military base, they won't actually attack it. They'll stop because they see Pietro as their Jesus and start attacking the actual base. She also says because Havoc is too aggressive now, too hot-headed, and he might cause a lot of damage at that military base. And so her and Pietro, they leave. Now, for Havoc, he always has a backup plan. You see, for me personally, and guys, don't hate me for this, because I do know some folks out there are like, how dare you say anything wrong about Chris Claremont? Guys, it's just my opinion. We could all be friends still. But for the character of Havoc, I truly felt like Chris Claremont did not really do a great job when it came to the character development of Havoc. I felt like Peter David really did a better job when it came to giving Havoc his time to shine. Like, hey, you know what? This is Havoc. He's more than just the boyfriend to Polaris or the younger brother to Cyclops. That in reality, he could be a good leader just like his brother. And so we see that when it came to Havoc, he always felt like that something was off about Val Cooper ever since those therapy sessions. You see, you have Havoc tell Polaris to track the helicopter that Val and also Pietro are using to head over to that other military base. But then the rest of X Factor, they're going to be using a different jet that was given to them by Forge, where they should be able to follow Val's helicopter without actually being detected. But while trying to do that, they run into Exodus. Now, this is the first appearance of Exodus. And the way the book brings him in, you're kind of like, okay, who is this character? And really, we do not get the chance to learn anything about the character at all because he just goes ahead and disappears just like that, leaving our heroes wondering who the heck that was. And for us as the readers, the same thing as well, like, who was that guy? He does seem very mysterious, but now he's gone and our team can continue to follow Val and also Pietro. Now, I want to jump back over to Cooper and also Pietro because they also brought another character with them, and that would be Random. Now, when it comes to Random, he has the mutant ability to kind of adapt to other mutant abilities. So honestly, he's a hard character to defeat. And really, the last time we saw him, the only reason why our heroes were able to defeat him was by actually giving him money because he's a bounty hunter. The whole idea of if you pay me money, I'll do the job. If you don't, guess what happens? I ain't doing the job. Either way, Val hired him to come alongside with her and Pietro over to this other military base. Now, this is her also telling a big secret that's going on at this military base. Now, mind you, this base is being run by Senator Kelly. Now, you already know, when it comes to Kelly, his whole thing is that he hates mutants, but at the same time, he still wants to give them a fair chance in the world. It's kind of like he's on that line right there, going back and forth on if he should help mutants or try to get rid of mutants. And with all that being said, apparently he's the one in charge of this base. And he's very upset of the fact that Val is there, but also alongside with two mutants, Ransom and also Pietro. Now for Pietro, he wants to know what in the world is happening at this military base. What does the acolytes want so bad from this base? And that is the moment where she shows Pietro Ransom a room full of sentinels, a new kind of sentinels, by taking the old models and trying to fuse those models with the Nimrod program to make newer versions of sentinels to use against the mutant race. But let's not forget that when it came to Havoc, he made sure they were able to follow Val, Pietro, and also Random over to this other military base. And so when our heroes do arrive, they see what's happening at the moment. They see that Val had just revealed that the government is still working on creating new kinds of sentinels. And so for Havoc, he's very upset about the idea that he was not even told about this project. Now for Havoc, it's kind of like, listen, You, the government, came to us, the X-Men, and said, hey, listen, we need a superhero team that's full of mutants that's working for the government as a way to build relations between the government and also the mutant race. That was y'all goal. But here y'all right now creating sentinels. Now for Val, she says, listen, we have a very good reason. Why? Because you have to look at the bigger picture. You have all those different groups out there of mutants, evil mutants that are attacking humans, just like the acolytes. The humans have the right to protect themselves. Now, for Havoc, it's still wrong, but you have Pietro say, no, she's right. And that's really huge. Because you have Pietro saying, you have to understand here, Havoc, that I have been by my father's side for many years, and I have seen what the man has done to humans out there in the world. Humans who were completely innocent, just minding their business. The acolytes, as we just saw at the very beginning of this video, attacked a group of people who were technically on the verge of death, but killed them all because they were humans. There are evil mutants just like there are evil humans out there. And so as we mutants, we have the right to protect ourselves. But at the same time, so does the humans. They have the right to protect themselves as well from mutants who are technically evil. But while you have everybody talking to one another, that is when you have the acolytes arrive. Now, it does seem like the acolytes are here just for the different parts of the Sentinels to use their own personal reasons. We don't get an actual reason here, but it does lead into a battle between the X Factor team and also the acolytes. But while the battling is going on, you don't have Pietro actually taking part in the actual battle. And the reason why, because he is called away by Fabian Cortez. You see, you have Fabian Cortez trying to tell Pietro, like, listen, you are the son of Magneto. What you need to do is to actually take your place alongside with us. Matter of fact, you should lead the acolytes because it's your birthright. You are the son of Magnus, the son of Magneto. Now, for Fabian Cortez, it's also him trying to play some word games on the mind of Pietro. Like, listen, you may hate the idea of your father. You may be trying to run away from the things your father did over the years in this world. But listen, no matter what, you are still his son. And sooner or later, you are going to be just like your father. It's your fate. Now, for Pietro, it's more like, no, I have the right to choose my own fate for my life. I will not be part of what my dad was to this world. This crazy mutant who believed the idea that mutants should just fight for their own right and kill off all humans. It is completely wrong. But for Fabian, he said, I watched you down there. You did not take part in that battle at all. And the reason why, because you realize that both sides are right. There are humans out there who are killing off mutants left and right, killing us off for no good reason. But at the same time, though, there are also mutants out there who are killing off innocent humans for no good reason left and right. So you're kind of wondering which is the right move. But I'm here to help you make the right move. If you choose us, I'll tell my acolytes stop fighting and we'll leave. But you'll be our new leader. Now again, for Pietro, he hates the idea of picking up where his dad left off at. And he says no. And after he says no, you then have every single member of the acolytes being able to actually teleport away. Now, way they're able to get the heck out of there is really more because of Amelia Voigt. Now, we have not really learned much about the character just yet. All we know is that she does have some kind of connection with Charles Xavier, but for Amelia, she has the ability to turn matter into vapor. And so she turned every single member of the acolytes into vapor as a way to leave the base without being captured by X Factor. Now, when it came to Kelly, he told his security team, hey, listen, go ahead and move all the different sentinels out of the base right now before X Factor can do anything to them at all, including the acolytes. And so right now, the entire base is completely clean. Now, after all of that, you see, we learned that when it comes to, well, Val Cooper, she was being controlled by the acolytes. They had something inside of her to kind of make her more aggressive, but also force her hand to show X Factor what the government is doing behind the scenes. The whole idea of these new sentinels being made. Now, she hates the idea that she had lied to X Factor because she looks at them as her friends. But now they're kind of like, you betrayed us. You did not tell us the truth. You knew about this actual secret. Like, technically, you're almost as bad as my father because you're now giving them tools to use against my people, the mutant race. And so for Val Cooper, she had just lost all respect from the entire team of X Factor. She is no longer their friend anymore. It's more of like, you're on this team because the government wants you there to watch over us. But now we kind of realize that we can't trust you. If you knew about this, you should have told us. Now you're telling us you didn't have the right to tell us. You're telling us that his new project was more of a failsafe just in case X Factor does not work out. But in reality, you still lied to us, to your friends. And so they walk away, and that ends Fatal Attractions for X Factor. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.